the past couple of months, there has been nothing but bad news surrounding Bungie's marathon. All of the initial teasers and trailers got ratioed, the closed alpha didn't go as well as they hoped, and the plagiarism controversy is basically the nail in the coffin for this title. But now we have an ex-Bungie dev saying that marathon leadership was extremely toxic and humiliating, just adding to the pile of problems with this title. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, there is a lot to this story, right? Because on one hand, you've got Bungie that is a scummy company. Many companies are, though. And then you have this developer who just decided to come out with this story now, which makes it seem a little bit suspicious. But it says a former Bungie developer says Marathon's leadership was extremely toxic and humiliating, calling for a complete overhaul of the studio leadership as they face heavy criticism and ongoing morale issues. So Bungie's upcoming extraction shooter Marathon has faced plenty of controversy and skepticism in recent weeks, and the situation just seems to be getting worse, with negative first impressions from the closed alpha playtest, a huge art theft scandal, and growing reports of morale collapse behind the scenes. It's clear that Marathon's development hasn't been smooth. Big changes to marketing and playtest plans have only added to the uncertainty. I don't see a way that this game is going to release in 2025. Maybe it will come out in 2026, though. At this point, I think that they just need to shelve it. I don't think that they should be putting any more time or money into it. It's clearly not going to come out and be a success. I mean, they have faced so much backlash with every single detail surrounding this title. I don't see a way that they could turn it around unless they dumped hundreds of millions of more dollars into it, and they delayed it, and they completely changed the art style and the atmosphere. They fixed the level problems. They fixed the gunplay. Like, they would have to completely overhaul it. And while they're delaying marketing campaigns and changing betas to public playtest plans, it's just all for naught, I think. What's even more concerning is that these problems aren't just being pointed out by critics on the outside, they've been coming from inside the studio for a long time. Many developers working on Marathon have reportedly raised their concerns over the years, especially about the push to keep the game focused only on PvP and not include any PvE features. The problem that I find with this is that they're only piling on, and now that other issues have come to light, now that the plagiarism has come to light. It's not like they've actually been talking for years publicly about the issues. It's only now that the game is failing. And we're also hearing, of course, that the latest blow came from a former Bungie developer who worked on Marathon, known online as Spirited, who shared a comment about his experience on social media. On Sunday, they posted on Blue Sky saying, "As a former Bungie employee who worked on Marathon, I feel for those at the studio. Working with engineering/Marathon leadership was extremely toxic and humiliating. I won't speak about the rest, but Bungie leadership needs to be gutted completely." Now, this person was a senior software engineer from June 2022 to May 2024, so he doesn't even really know the current state of the game. Regardless, though, while yes, Bungie is a scummy company, and I'm sure that the leadership was rushing the developers to get the product done, ultimately, the leadership weren't the ones plagiarizing. The leadership weren't the ones coming up with a mediocre product. The developers plagiarized. The developers came up with a bad set of visuals and character designs. The developers were the ones who came up with bad level designs. It is the developers' fault as well. So while, yeah, sure, we can put part of the blame on the Bungie leadership for maybe rushing the developers to get the game done, ultimately, they are the ones who created a mediocre product, and it's only PvP. It's not like they had a PvE, a PvP mode. They were balancing 50 hours worth of story content here, along with a PvP mode. We're just talking about a PvP extraction shooter here. They have had years and years and years to actually develop this game, and their art team clearly wasn't putting in the work, given they weren't creating anything, they were just stealing. So what were those people doing? I don't know. I don't feel that we can just put the blame on Bungie. The developers are also people who just created a bad product. Of course, the Access Media isn't going to go for that standpoint, because the Access Media wants to protect the developers, And I do feel bad for them to a certain degree, but ultimately, I'm not going to completely forget the fact that they still created a bad product at the end of the day. Now, this is not the first time that this individual has opened up about his experiences at Bungie. Last year, after the studio laid off more employees, he said he left Bungie because their leadership is the worst that I've worked with. He described rampant micromanagement, frequent toxicity, and violations of their core values, and no ability to execute on their multi-franchise vision. Every day was a fight for autonomy and trust. Every day was someone telling me I'm not allowed to speak on any issues or problems in a professional tone. Now, I don't think that the Bungie leadership is going to be there for much longer. I think that it's going to be a couple of months and we're going to see some of these people ousted. I don't see a way that they can continue doing this. I mean, we are talking about 4 plagiarism controversies in 5 years. That either means that they have not fired the individuals who have been the plagiarists, or they fired those people and were hiring individuals that were just as bad. I don't think that they can deal with any more controversies, but I also don't think that they're going to be seen as like a triple A studio anymore. I think that they are going to be downgraded to like a double A level. I think that maybe their games will have a 50 to 100 million budget maximum. I don't think that they're going to be trying to make any Destinies or Marathons anymore. Nothing of that size or scope. And I don't think that they should try anymore. I feel like they have tried and tried and tried and really only disappointed the fans that they had. And we're also hearing that apparently if this game actually comes out, it needs to break into the top 5 NPD sales of the year to be considered a success. So we are talking about absolute behemoths here, which I just don't see happening. Development studios and companies need to stop spending over $100 million on multiplayer only titles. People love multiplayer. I'm not saying to stop making them completely, but you need to have other components. That's a reason why Call of Duty sells so many copies, because it's PvE and PvP. If you're going to make PvP only, you have to make it damn good, and it needs to be a reasonable budget, not a behemoth budget. And it's like these shareholders are not saying, hey, listen, clearly something needs to change at your company. And it's not like CEOs and producers are saying, hey, we need to change the way that games are being made. It's like everybody just keeps doubling and tripling down, thinking one day this is going to pay off, when clearly that day is not coming anytime soon. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on what's going on with Bungie and Marathon, but right now we have developers claiming that it's just a toxic environment over there, and while I believe them to a certain degree, nobody knows what the word accountability means anymore. None of these developers are admitting, hey, we were creating a trash product, we did the best that we could with the tools that we were given, but they were given years, they were given a lot of money, and I still think that when you're only making a PvP game, you should be able to make something that's a slightly higher level of quality than this. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.